allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you haven't signed your cell phone, please do that. I would go ahead and read the adopted policy for those of you in the audience. Adopted policy of the Berlin Township Zoning Commission is that each applicant or agenda item will be given 10 minutes or the discretion of the chairperson to make a formal presentation. Chair will allow questions from the commission members in order to provide a timely and orderly discussion of business for consideration. Finally, the audience will be given up to 3 minutes or at the discretion of the chairperson for each speaker to respond. Chairperson may limit competitive debate, and all comments from the audience must be addressed to the chairperson. Lisa, can you verify that this meeting was advertised?
It was. This was able to continue.
Oh, this is tailored, okay, so we didn't advertise it at all. Okay, that's right, it was tabled and continued from April 8th. It was April 8th of April, I think so. And it was, advertised as a regular meeting in December 2024 in the Delaware Gazette.
We have some meeting minutes from our last meeting on May 28th.
Motion to approve BGC meeting minutes, May 28th, 2025.
I will second.
Mr. DeChristopher,
Yes.
Ms. Kaplan,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes. And Lisa, I apologize, I missed the roll call. We do need a roll call, sorry.
Darcy Kaplan,
Here.
Angela Brown, Tara Shields, Jasper DeChristopher,
Here.
Jenny Slopes, Keith Gosha, Ray Armstrong.
So we do have in front of us BCC 16-001, amendment number 3, 5 off the Ellis Ineos Development. PO Box 278 Lewis Center, Ohio, 43035. Applicant is requesting to amend their approved preliminary development plan of plus or minus 57.62 acres, 2 parcels at 1 acres, Ohio Road West, Lewis Center, Ohio, for subdivision, Ravinia, in parentheses, Norris, at Evans Farm, formerly known as Evans Farm. Do you want to do your?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the benefit of the applicant and members of the community who are present, because we have a board tonight of only 3 members, the regular full membership will be 5 members. In order to receive a determination of approval from this board tonight, and I'm not saying whether they will do or not do, but you would need, in order to hit your threshold of number of people, you would need all 3 members to agree and to grant that approval. So that we end up having basically 3 out of the original 5. If at any point the applicant wants to request a continuance in order to receive to another date for us to work to try to get 4 and 5 members present, I'm happy to do that. You may make that request at any time, and it'll be considered by the board.
Okay, thank you.
That being said, we do have our applicant here to present to us.
Hello.
Introduce yourself and go for it.
Dan Griffin, do I want my address? 5672 Evans Farm Drive, Lewis Center, Ohio, 45035. 43035. I moved yesterday, so I haven't sold my house yet, so that's still the address. To give you a little background, I think we've all had a long background on it, but this was the original submission that we did some time ago. It had 215 lots. It was long, ugly, straight lines, and now that we have the town center put together, we have, and at the request of the trustees and you guys, I think last time we talked about this, we have a fresh new package. At the request of the Evans family, we have changed the name to Norris, because that's some of the farm owners from previous, which we're trying to stay with the family. We reduced this density again from 215, I think, to 183 under the current submission. And we have incorporated, as you'll see by your drawing, that's in the package, And that's good. That drawing's right here. And as you'll see in this drawing, we incorporated green space. So when you're coming in, you're looking at a park and trails, as you saw last time when we submitted around everywhere, the 10-foot bike path. Really just taking into consideration all the feedback we previously had. Trying to get the lots away from the railroad tracks, but still maintaining retention ponds. Design now, and I guess this is on exhibit B4, which gives you a really good view of the landscape out front, the mountain, and of course this is this entrance, these entrances, one's at the roundabout that we figured out now with the county, and then one is directly across, so the road improvements from the Pulte Arrowhead development. So they'll be doing those entrances. I did want to show just, and this is in a different setting. Here's the school on Peach Blow, and we're trying to work on matching this whole development with lots of the Ross property will be coming into you in the next 30 days, probably by July, just to start to get the sort of the last piece to this northern area. So that's where these roads stub into, and then the school's right here. So
And that's Arrowhead School, right?
that's the Peach Blow
Arrowhead.
Coyotes.
Arrowhead's are like over here. Yeah, that's Peach Blow.
Diversity matrix, everything that was requested throughout this, and that's why we redid the whole book and renamed it and got a fresh start, because there were just too many submissions over the last couple of years. I'm really excited about getting going. And please, questions. The builder, Miranda, is here, so to answer any questions about the buildings you see in the back, streetscape. And yes, there will be variations in colors, and yes, there will be additions, as we talked about on the Pulte deal. There will be some, all the front elevations will have a stone type of different brick and mixture of the materials. So
Is that called out somewhere about the mixture? I saw building materials, but I didn't necessarily see, at least I don't remember seeing.
I think what we did,
It's right.
Is
Yeah, it's on page 2. Well, it's on page 2, but it's in the back. It's more than half of that. In this one.
yeah.
Yeah,
the exterior color combinations.
yeah.
And there is one thing in the amendment.
Yeah, right here. So like section.
Because it said will include it, but it doesn't necessarily say, right, shall
That's right.
integrate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've spent a lot of time with the builder as well as the family and the architect. Really, and I applaud Miranda, has really done some creative stuff with their elevations now. And they really look like. There is a piece here. There's no need to insert this. This was out of the Pulte. We, as the architects and design guidelines, they had in this insert and add, all homes shall integrated permitted masonry material stone manufactured stone and brick in the front elevations. It's already in our design guidelines as well, but you're welcome. I mean, it's just a repetitive thing from what's already been
I'd
approved.
rather have that.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. It's just the one place I found that,
I like it.
and let me point out the other one I found that we discussed with the Pulte approval. it says exposed foundation shall be finished with a permitted masonry exterior siding, material stone, manufactured stone and bricks. We also, again, remember, allow them to paint, but these are patio homes anyway, so there's not gonna be an exposed foundation, so that can be removed from this specific site. Questions?
You wanna go, Jasper?
Yeah, I can start. I might want to come back. A few of the things, as far as your amendments, clarifications, I didn't really have a problem with the clarification of the front facade, window type, doors and window construction, fiberglass, adding that one to the fiberglass doors in my house, so. The windows, that wasn't your comments about the coloring, I'm pretty fine with that, just kind of, not non-high chroma. You've got a little bit of examples in your pictures, but you've kind of got that,
Right.
non-high chroma, more of a, I call it a natural color tone, is probably the best way. Now, the siding and whatnot, I still am not a fan of the vinyl siding. I understand it's being used elsewhere in Evans. And I'd like,
And let me just,
yeah, good.
something when we first started, I know this has been 11 years of, we've seen, and the family approved it, and they have to approve everything that we do. We've seen, as we all know, this rise in cost for the builders, for the developers, and everything else. We've also, when we got the family to look at this at the request of the builders, we went around and saw that a lot of the hardy plank that are 16-foot long spans are weighing more than the vinyl 0.46, the heavier vinyl submitted, put on right. So it's about the application. So it's, it allows us to try to keep, and the builder, to try to keep these prices to where somebody can afford to build. So it was really important for us to, after the last 11 years, to make sure it got to that point. Now, yes, you allow it in Berlin and you also allow it in Evans Farm, but so we're going to keep that trend, but we really are trying to keep prices down. We can't keep selling homes and thinking our kids can afford $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 homes, and they're only 2,000 square feet. We have 2,500 square foot homes that are going for over $1 million in Evans Farm, and it's our kids are never going to be able to afford anything. And the vinyl siding, I believe, and seriously, we've spent time with the family for them to change as well and to agree to this, like we've done with Rockford and Pulte. It's gotten to the point where it's a better product. It's less maintenance, it doesn't fade, and you don't see it as wavy. So in the old days, it was always, we put in our zoning, and I've been doing this for a long time. No vinyl, no solar, no nothing. Well, now these things have become probably better products.
Understood.
Yeah.
I was here when we did the 2016 stuff.
Yeah.
There was a vision for Evans Farm that we all
And we're not,
went for.
yeah,
And it said no one.
Right.
And now we've gone from 0 to some pretty high percentages. Still to be defined, of course, but
Right.
it's a little hard to swallow when
But
we
Yeah.
bought that vision. And you haven't gotten into this, but the rear alleys with garages and, it's just all gone. So,
well, I would say, let's talk about the vinyl first.
sure.
Specifically on these sites and everywhere right now. I don't think that changes the vision one bit. And again, we've worked very hard to make sure that when, how it's put on, how it's, how it's presented. I mean, the fronts of these houses, as you can see, are incredible.
Very attractive.
And they're very attractive, so we haven't lost that vision. And I know the alleys have been a sticking point with the trustees, I have to say.
We
But
thought
again-
we were doing something different, and
Right, and that's still to be discussed tonight, right? That's one of your points.
Right.
I'm sorry I went off on the vine,
Oh, no,
so keep
you're
going
fine,
with your
fine.
questions.
We'll get to where we're going.
yeah, we'll
so-
get where we're going.
Yeah.
So I think, just from this side of the table, this is what we're struggling with. We're not really saying it's terrible or we hate it, we're just saying,
But the vinyl, I wouldn't say changes the vision though, but I understand your point and your comment, and we're ready to discuss that tonight with you, so.
Honestly, I'd rather see it limited. I'm not a fan of it on the front, on the sides, with the spacing you have in the houses. They're pretty tight together, sides and back, I'm probably less concerned, but with the switch to going, I mentioned no alleys, so now the garage is front.
Mm-hmm.
There's really not a lot of what I would call house in the front, because you've got a garage. So, you kind of got that trade where you're eating up more in the front with the front porch, the garage.
Mm-hmm.
There's less siding on the front of the house anyway. So that's kind of where I was coming with the vinyl. I'm not a fan of it necessarily on the front and the sides, the back. I understand the maintenance and the kind of the difference in price and whatnot.
Okay.
The other things you have in here about the cluster mailboxes, diversity, stormwater, don't see too many issues on that. I will admit it, they are attractive looking homes. It is Evans Farm, the size of the lots are smaller, but yet you have changed some of those to where, based on like your preliminary, you were at 40, now there's more than that.
And it is significantly, and again, I applaud the builder for working with us too. This is, and the family, the Evans family. It is significantly, when you look at the green space and how it's presented, it's really, we're really proud of the changes that were made. So.
I do like the incorporation of a couple of the green spaces. To Darcy's comment, I wasn't back when they did the original Evans, so I wasn't necessarily sold the whole alley concept. So when I look at it, I'm looking at it for what it is, a little bit more necessarily than what the alleys and the Evans Farm original kind of concept was. So I do like, if I'm being honest, if I had to give up the alley, if I can get the open space and some more amenities for the people that are actually living there, I think I prefer that. Just because the original plan, I just don't see space for the people that are living there. So,
And that's what happened.
Other than
If we
the
do the
water
alleys,
retention.
there's literally no back.
yeah, so I kind of like the two smaller parks with some amenities in them. I also understand that, the roads that you had in your preliminary, you gotta wait till the county to decide on that, and then you have to work with whatever. they
Yeah,
do.
it was.
So that aspect of it as well, but, and I think at this point, having looked at like your open space, the amenities that you're providing, I like the one bigger park, the one that's kind of the main entrance. There's the river walk kind of concept along the basin.
Mm-hmm.
Basins typically aren't the most attractive things that, they are, but you have tried to create a little bit more of just a few benches. Where they're just stuck in the ground. You actually have kind of like a platform and overlook, so I did like that aspect. And having it back up to the park really gives it kind of the center area. So they're kind of incorporated together even almost.
Yeah, and we do our basins throughout Evans Farm. I mean, they're fishing lakes, they're active. These aren't just retention basins. That in case you do detention and just let, or, just retain it for a little while and not have it wet. But we like making them a focal point of what we do, especially with fishing.
The one, I will say kind of you have the one park where it's more just green space with the CDU, the mailbox units. The one kind of question I did have on the one open space, I've gotta find the right picture. Oh, there it is.
Is that the north center?
The north center, your green space you've got on, the west side, you've got kind of the play area, fire pit, pavilion. On the east side of that, you've got a pergola with some benching and seating.
Yeah.
Kind of my only real question was, when I look at your overall plan, that pergola and seating,
Yeah, let me.
many pictures. It looks basically like the entrance. So it's basically looking at all the cars coming in. I found that a little bit odd, like to watch the traffic come in as opposed to trying to flip it to look more to the center green space.
Yeah, the seating should be more looking in.
And it's
And
designed with a way to
really-
look out.
Yeah, we sort of wanted to give it that look, but we wanted to keep the actual use of the park behind it. So it's out of, people are driving in, right? So you're looking at cars, you're right. So we didn't do too much other than give it that look. It's sort of like our post office, right, at Evans Farm. We have chairs in front of the post office, but it's right on the road. It's where people are pulling you around. Sometimes people sit there and relax, but really it's the western area and the green space in the center. So it's a focal point when people drive in, so they're not just looking at nothing, right? But at the same time, they're looking at, I guess the best way to explain it is you don't need seating there, but
Well, no, I
but
get
you
that
should,
don't-
because it does create some place for people to sit down
Yeah,
and
and
enjoy themselves on that side of the park.
I just found it odd that you would face it to the traffic and not the park. At least that's what it appears with the way you're curving it on the walkway.
Yeah, I know.
And maybe you have the seating actually rotating back towards the park, and it just
I'll
appears
make
that way.
I'll make a note, because I want to make sure that it's seated back towards the park.
Because with the walkway and the planter there, you kind of got the seating, but the U shape, I guess the ends of the U face east, which would make me think that the whole thing is facing east.
To face west. Okay. Yeah, I'll check on that.
I don't have any real issue with the look of it. I liked it. I just found it odd. I thought it would make a lot of sense to have it face the incoming traffic.
So I know you have our commitment to face this event. Less.
And, I guess I don't have to ask that question. I don't know why I left three sides. So, okay. I'm good for now.
On the next. The CDUs in the main green space area, it looks like it has 3 parking spaces. Are they 3 parallel parking spaces or?
Let me go to the. Yes.
And looks like walking or sidewalks throughout on both sides of the road. Is there
Mhm.
parking permitted on the road? On one side, both
One
sides?
side, same.
And one of the questions I had is that we've got gross density calculated, but not event density. I know that that was all approved on the original, but it's not in here anywhere. I just wondered if that information is somewhere. And I guess it's changed actually, so, since the preliminary.
Yeah, since it's gone down with density on the.
Yeah, it's just one of those factoids I really like to know. And I'm not sure.
I know it's gotten better with going to 183 versus the 215.
I gather it has.
So I can get you those.
I like to.
Yeah, and I'd ask for a point of clarification because the paperwork we have says 185. So just, I mean, I know it's only 2 lots, but whichever the number is.
We're committing to 183.
Okay.
So,
But then it also says that the preliminary plan had 150
Right.
units, not over 200.
well, here's here's what you have to, do we have an old drawing of Evans Farm? Thank you. Because remember, the roadway went out, so the way it sat in there looked different because of the way the roads were. So by the time you could put into this same space, once the roads were straightened out, it was 215. I know what you're saying. If you look at the old configuration, but remember that had the commercial coming out into here and the roadways that swung this way, and it took away what you could do over here with the, once we put the detention basins in. So,
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I think all of us are on the same page, we want to make sure that with the, again, since it's gross density, that density, which is what we like to see, the preliminary saying that it was a 2.65, and the amended is a 2.88, but in reality, if that 2.65 is going up from 153 versus 200.
well, I go back to the original approval, I guess. Are we, I think
So,
we
when I
view
took-
it as the whole site.
since I did this plan and I was comparing it to the new plan, I took that 150 from the exact
Parcel,
parcel.
okay,
So that's,
And the lots are a lot smaller, but,
okay,
yeah. I didn't like follow the roads on that. I
Okay.
followed the roads
That
on
helps.
what's existing.
all right,
Does that make sense? So
that makes,
it cut a bunch of lots off.
yeah, because it cut the bottom portion off, which I'm not saying.
Just know that we do like to see that density somewhere in these presentations, especially as, sort of lots and units get sort of fungible when some of these like
Yeah.
shift and
yeah.
that's helpful. to
If things work out this evening, I'll make sure that we include that in the package to the trustees and send you an amendment
Yeah,
that
we
shows
would
you
like
the.
to know that. Really, I think Jasper covered a lot of this. You're not gonna have foundations, so that portion isn't relevant, I get that. But I would agree with you, Angela, that I'd like to keep that on page 2 of 4, that the all homes shall
fine.
integrate,
Yes,
I
yeah.
like that.
And we,
Alright, I don't have anything else. Most of what we already talked about is where I was going to a lot of my conversation, my questions. I'm happy that you're getting rid of 185, bringing up 183. I think and again, it goes back to when the was, and what Darcy was saying with with it just looking very different, so it became more similar to Evans Farms, the existing Evans Farms with alleys in the back. So now, these are very nice renderings, and I think that they're going to be very nice. But it definitely does give an extremely different feel that you're driving through, than what was preliminary approved. So I guess my point with that is it looked more upscale before, and now what it reminds me of is more of just a neighborhood that has these extremely tiny lots. That's more of a condo neighborhood. And that's the feel that I get now, is that it's not the huge mansions, right, or the very large ones that are in Evans Farms, but that's where my mind goes, is like, what happened? And I understand what happened, right? The whole world has changed. Prices have gone up significantly. That was 11 years ago, it was a long time, it was a long way from where we are now. But that is what we're having trouble with, the way that it has truly changed, because this, again, I think that these are great. These renderings are great, and, I know that they'll end up looking like that, but it just is a completely different view of what it is shaping to look like now versus what it was. And when I think about, you know, the point of Evans Farm is that it mimics a city streets, right? Where it's residential, and so you walk up and you see front porches, and you got that feel of walking around a neighborhood like that. Well, that neighborhood is not this neighborhood. So then I think, okay, well, those yards are really small, but it's because there's all of these other things, and I know it's hard because they're coming,
Oh,
right? They're
absolutely.
absolutely coming,
It's 11 years of changes. I'm with you. I'm with you, and I'm listening.
but now you've got these homes that look very different, which isn't always a bad thing, but it's more to swallow, right? So a pill to swallow. But then I would like to understand, with the lots being the size that we had approved before, closer to that size, what does this give you for a backyard sense? I like the green spaces that are incorporated, but it does not feel like there's enough depending on how much
Backyard.
backyard space there is.
So I don't know the depth of your product.
Yes,
Yeah, do you have a footprint?
well, we have a typical built zone,
It's on page exhibit D3, shows it.
35 foot.
So I
35 years.
mean, I saw that, but what that shows me is that there's pretty much the same amount of space in the back of the home that there is from front to the road, which means it's more than Evans Farms, right? But it's still not very much. So again, it gives me that feeling of a condo neighborhood.
Yeah, in on Evans Farm, because I live in, now I'm moving to one of the townhomes, but I live on a 65-foot lot, right? And by the time the garage and I put the alley in back, I have no
Yeah.
backyard.
Exactly.
And my side yard is,
Non-existent.
it's 8 feet to the property line. So we have a garden, we still have tomatoes. The more I would say the vision that we're going to continue to deliver isn't as much about that as it is about walkability and the green space and bringing people with an atmosphere. And I know this is, I'm going around the circle, but and then adjusting to where we are today after, when we started Evans Farm, our first alley loaded lot I sold for $65,000. Of course, I had 85 in it, so I couldn't understand why those guys were buying them up like hotcakes. And it was $400,000. Our first house that sold in here, 3 pillars, sold it for $400,000. Alley loaded on a 40-foot lot. Now we've sort of said 40 foot's way too tight. So we've started to say it got to be 43, 45, 40, just let's start to try to bump them out a little. And in this case, we've bumped them out in a certain amount of lots even more.
Yeah.
But it was 400,000. That same house today, just raw costs is $200,000 more. So we can't deliver a house when you add the alley behind it. So, we have, even in Orange Township, we have a section that we went back and talked about. We're gonna probably do some duplexes. Well, was that our original vision in the big plan? No, but we also have to keep in mind that we want this neighborhood to grow as a neighborhood with diversity. And if we keep building 45-foot lots that are rear alley loaded and they're 700, I think they just sold one for $850 now.
That's the price.
$850 on it, my kids aren't gonna be able to afford it, and each of them got good jobs. They can't afford the house, which is probably why we went from 70% in the last year, 70% to our rental rates. Now we're 93% rented in our townhomes, because even, you know, guys my age, anybody that, unless you really are making a lot of money, can't afford the taxes, so you go to rent.
Yeah.
So we really are trying to focus. It's not, we're not giving up on the vision. I'm here for life. I've committed to that, to the family. We're not giving up on the vision, but we are trying to make sure the vision doesn't get so far ahead of us that we're a New Albany, you know, where we're just we want the trails connecting, we want the town centers, we still want the atmosphere, but we've got to deliver diversity of housing. And we are not going to be able to do that if we don't roll a little with the times because of the cost, because the costs aren't coming back down. They, you know, that was you know, the manufacturers of lumber and everybody else used COVID as a way to just say, oh, let's go. And the builders, April and May of this year, I mean, it has been really down from people, but yet our rents, look, I mean, we don't have a place to rent anymore at Evans Farm. So, you know, we even look at doing some of the, you know, our Cove product, our attached product. We're thinking of condominiumize them and maybe sell them, so we can sell to these newlyweds and kids that are trying to start a family that still want to own something and not live in an apartment complex. So it's tough. There's no doubt that things have changed over the last 11 years, and I know we all expected it, but I don't think the changes we're making give up our vision at all. And I'm here today and I'm not going anywhere with that. I'm comfortable with how we're approaching everything.
I don't know that it was spelled out anywhere, but roughly, I mean, you show some examples of the street and houses, square footage wise. I don't know if it was in here anywhere.
Yeah, I'd say roughly 1,600 square feet to 2,400 square feet.
And that's the same thing in Orange Township, where you're minimum of 1,600 that we go to.
So having the garages on the main floor took away some of that in the original, wasn't it? Different?
No, the garages didn't get counted.
No,
Oh.
because previously the footprint of the house was only house, the garage was a separate building.
No,
So that did not decrease the square footage of your dwelling.
no.
And what price point are you anticipating for these?
I'd say it's in the,
Not what you try to be at. That's reality.
I'd say the 400s and probably creep into the 500s.
And we know.
Can I get your name? and
Oh, I'm
address?
sorry, sure, Todd Lipschutz, LIPSCHUTZ, with Milano Home. As you use my work, 5,900 Bill Cox Place.
Is that a regular one?
I want to go back. I know you said you're committing to 183 lots. Exhibit B4 shows 185 and it calls out how many lots are, X width. What is being eliminated and how are you reconfiguring that?
Well, remember and I don't know if it was this way, what was the old book? The old layout that we had and how it's changed, is that?
It's right here, yeah.
Well, no, that's the original.
That's the real one, yeah.
I'm thinking the one where we submitted
So
revision.
this is 22, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
The one on your board, I think it's the one on your board.
Yeah, I believe it is too. I just want to check. And it says, and again, when we went to the trustees for major or minor because of this happening, we all looked at it together and their comments as well as all of ours were, God, the streets are straight. You don't have a lot of active green space in the lots, and we want the parks just like, Evans Farm the vision again. So the vision, that's why we changed some things with these green corridors, with walkways, and walks around the lakes and these big park areas that you drive in and see. So maintaining that vision was important, and it was a good comment that the trustees made and good comments that we sort of got off from you guys. We need to address each of these pods from a price point, from a visual, and still maintain the vision of Evans Farm. And the family signed off on this, and that's tough to get from them. They're not as easy as, but I agree with it. We can't.
I agree. Now, I just wondered
Yeah.
on this layout, 2 lots are being eliminated, whereabouts?
I don't know which one they eliminated. They probably, when they increase the size of certain lots and,
Well, because this says 185, but you're saying 183. This plat shows 185 lots. 184 and 185 right there.
Yeah, I remember talking to our guys about 183, and maybe,
Are you making a couple
maybe
wider?
they were in
Just
here when we
eliminating?
when we started to line up this roadway here, but drawing, and we had to draw the line up and we had to go in here, maybe we had to get rid of a couple there or something.
again,
I just want to be clear that
yeah.
2 of those are not going to be there, and you'll figure
Two
it
of them are
out.
not gonna be there if it shows 185.
We had this conversation the last time we saw you about the trees being within the right of way. And that was just sort of an Evans Farm,
Yeah,
Ethos.
and
and
as I think council and everybody agreed that that's part of the condition that we maintain our HOA and there's no liability and all that's signed off on our HOA
just want
document.
to make sure that's a continuous
Absolutely.
thing. Okay.
Yep.
Um,
We actually are also, again, from keeping the vision, we are all these Rockford site, all of them are gonna be under our master association. So you're not gonna see, EPCON has a sub-association because of the maintenance and stuff they do on the actual structures. But we, under the Evans Farm Master Association, is gonna run all these sites and maintain and keep them, so.
I did have, Darcy, are you okay?
no, go ahead.
Okay, so I brought this up when we were talking about the land across the Arrowhead, as well for Pulte. And, I mentioned my concern that we would end up looking like that out there, how they're just blank backs of houses along a roadway. And I wanted to make sure that as we are going other places in the township, and we have large roads that are going through, that it doesn't feel like we're just looking at backs of houses, that we're giving them more privacy, and it looks more appealing.
Right, and as you see, in again, before the illustration, especially when you're working with the county now that this roundabout's here and Hyatt Road, let's face it, it's gonna be wide, it's gonna be 3
Yes.
lanes,
Yes,
that's all gonna be done. So we'll be able to use the dirt to mound up and really landscape the back so the people
it feels more private.
feels private.
Okay,
Yeah, that's part of our reasoning for not facing the houses at the road as well as that being a busy road, but at the same time, protecting the backyards.
yeah, making them feel like they actually have some privacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because on those roundabouts, the headlights do the whole 360.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry, I just don't like roundabouts. I get it for moving traffic, but sometimes you like to slow it down.
Goodness. Any other questions from our commission here? And it looks like we have some audience members. If there's anybody out there who would like to make some comments, just let us know your name and address and go ahead. No? Nobody? Okay. So do we have our, amendment before us? I take it you guys would like to have a vote this evening,
Yes.
despite the fact there's just a statement.
Madam Chair, I have preliminary drafted some motion language for the commission, if the commission would like me to put that on the table for your consideration.
Absolutely, thank you.
I provided the language of that, I'm not gonna do a copy, but, provided the language of, the commission making a recommendation this evening to the board of trustees. And I reflected, as you know, your authority is to recommend approval, denial, or approval of modifications. Hearing the conversation this evening, I heard a handful of modifications. If I missed any, just let me know, or if I misremembered any, you can continue to draft or modify their. So I heard, first, this is a sort of catch-all that I write in these kinds of motions to capture the version of the materials that you're looking at today, which you know is especially true in this instance. You've seen a number of versions, we want to capture the one that you have, Mr. Griffin presented. So I say various changes reflected in the modified PRD text, map, exhibits, and other materials dated May 30th, 2025. Okay. The second proposed modification would be the development shall have a maximum of 183 lots for public units based on the applicant's representation. Okay. And number 3, that the responsibility for maintaining and replacing trees and any other landscaping in the road right of way shall be the planned community associations. Question for the commission: how did you want to handle, if at all, your comments about the vinyl siding or the park bench? And you could say not at all, or here's our thoughts on that, or any of the above.
I'm sorry, you said the vinyl, and what was the second?
The park bench, the orientation of the park bench.
At the bottom, that one, right there. Because it's facing up to
Well, yes, I think it was, it might be.
in my head.
It looks as though it is, but
You probably don't have to address that in a formal obligation, but you have my commitment to, we'll take care of it. I appreciate it. As part of this consideration, for approval, the builder would accept and commit to making sure that there's not vinyl and there's hardy used on this.
A combination of the masonry.
Front elevation.
Yeah, masonry and hardy out front.
So you're saying no vinyl or?
Well, vinyl on the 3 sides, we, you know,
Okay.
based on a comment from,
As you brought it.
yeah.
Okay, so no vinyl on the
I
front.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah,
We do appreciate that. So that would be item 4.
So I will write this out to everyone. That vinyl siding material shall not be used on the front facade. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
And are you specifying any type of masonry, or are you specifying what is going to be used?
There's actually already a mix
Okay.
of some mix of items.
Okay.
Yeah, it's already in our code, original approvals.
There's no vinyl siding on the front.
Just
On the front.
But none of the vinyl will be on the front.
Is the bench one a stipulation? The bench facing? He said he would.
Yeah, do we need to make that one?
I just want to make sure I'm not missing.
Yeah, I don't.
I think just going back and looking at it was fine.
Yeah, I'll go back and if it's not,
yeah, and maybe, I mean, obviously, you're gonna have to update your books for the trustees just because of the
Right.
numbers, or they're gonna have.
absolutely.
So maybe if you could provide something that shows that in better
Uh-huh.
detail, just so we can see it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
just the 4, right? 4 stipulations.
You wanna do it?
Sure. This. I'd like to make a motion to approve BZC 16-001, Amendment 3, filed by Bavella Seniors Development, BZD, PO Box 278, Lewis Center, Ohio, 43035. Applicant requesting to amend these approved preliminary development plans, plus or minus 57.2 acres, which
Is it now, sorry, is it now the 60?
yeah, I was gonna say the booklet is 64.2.
Which one is that?
That's probably the gross, including to the right of way of the center of the road, so it's 50.
64.2.
So that's what it should say, that's what we should say.
Yeah.
For approval.
Yes, so if you want to include the acreage in your motion, I would include the 64.2 because that matches the application materials.
Yeah.
And you're gonna go on and say, you know, as submitted in the May 30th, that just creates less of a matchup situation.
64.20 acres, parcel numbers 418-3400-105-3000 and 418-3-400-1055-000. High Road West, Lewis Center, for subdivision Ravinia at Evans Farm, formerly known as Evans Farm, with the additional 4 amendments. 1, various changes reflected in the modified PRD text map, exhibits and other materials dated May 30th, 2025. 2, development shall have a maximum of 183 lots for dwelling units. 3, the responsibility for maintaining and replacing trees and any other landscaping in the road right-of-way shall be the planned community associations. And 4, that vinyl siding material shall not be used in the front facades of homes.
Can I ask if you would make 2 modifications to your motion? Can I suggest 2
2
modifications?
suggestions.
Yes, that you're recommending approval of the application. But the motion is I move to recommend approval as opposed to I move to approve,
Okay.
please. And then with that, the items you're identifying as 1, 2, 3, and 4 are identified as modifications, just because that tracks your code and statute. I'm a stickler, I'm sorry, I will still.
No, that's
We like that value.
I appreciate that. Many people.
Do you need to reread?
Yeah, well, all right, so can I just add that in at the end then? All right. So move to recommend approval of case 16001, amendment 3, with the following modifications as previously mentioned.
It's recommend approval to the trustees, sorry.
I have a second.
Okay, Mr. Christopher,
Yes.
Ms. Kaplan,
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go.
Appreciate it. I know we'll be
So do you have more agenda items? Next up, discussion of number, draft 6715 State Road.
This is an informal.
Yeah, it's informal, but I brought some material for you guys to look at and stuff. Yep, so I'm Lexus Thornton with Plan for Land. Our address is 1 South Harrison Street, Ashley, Ohio, 43003. So, and then our client is with us here today, Kyle. And we are proposing, so I had a meeting with Levi last week informally just to discuss a rezoning of the property to neighborhood commercial. I wanted to get in front of you guys to see what you guys would recommend, obviously with the overlay that we discussed. I don't know if you want to go into that either, Levi. This is the site plan we had put together to do an actual formal application for neighborhood commercial or the PCD. So that's kind of what we wanted to discuss with you guys and see what you would recommend, so, for our client.
Yeah, I
And best use of the property
I've
as
been
well.
working with them for probably a month or so now. There's a PCD in the area, and there's also a couple neighborhood commercial districts in the area. PCD is probably, there's one, the Wayne Homes lot with those 2 homes or 3 homes is PCD, across the street is PCD, and the comp plan, it shows all this land as future commercial use.
And the overlay
And,
is,
and the overlay won't really apply to this because you couldn't, it's such a 1.5 acre lot, I believe. Is that what it is, 1.5 acre?
it's 1 acre.
1 acre lot, so by the time you put in setbacks and stuff, there would be no building envelope. So NCD or PCD are gonna be their best option. Probably each one would require a couple of variances, but they just wanted to get your feedback on what you would recommend.
Yeah,
To
so.
kind of give you a rundown of what the plan is for the business.
Yeah, and also for the neighborhood commercial, in the code, it recommends 3,000 square foot. Our client is trying to do around 5,000. He does want that 60-foot width. You can actually discuss your business. That might also help, explain your motives. So,
I run an auto and marine repair shop, small boats, not big boats. And the 60 feet gives us depth inside the building to be able to walk around the front with the trailer and actually still be able to close the doors. So,
that's also why we, maintain 50% open space in this concept. So there is green space and it is at 50%. And then we also added this too. We thought the fire department would like that, and he'd probably like that too, to pull the boats in and out as well. So, but this structure, I think is, this one's only 50 feet wide, but he would like to stay at 60 feet. So that's what one of the divergences would be, was the square footage. So we just want to see what you would recommend before we make an actual application and then get chewed up in the meeting. So.
Can I get your, last name and address, please?
it's Ryder, RBI, and IGR. My home address is 483. Name is L.A.M. Jones, U.S. 100 West, Western Ohio.
Did you sign this? Okay. You have a name of your company?
Precision Auto. You already been assigned that.
Oh, Precision?
Yeah, Precision
Precision, I'm sorry, what?
Auto and marine.
Well, but, so I guess my big question, what kind of traffic are you anticipating? 36, 37, I know that's always a discussion.
Yeah, so we actually already had some correspondence with ODOT. He did as well. He had most of the correspondence actually with ODOT, and they're already planning infrastructure to come and reroute all of this. So it didn't seem to be a point to make a turn lane or anything like that, because they're just gonna rip that all up anyways here in the next couple of years. So they didn't request us to make any changes unless requested otherwise from you guys.
I'm gonna go ahead and say what you just said, I mean,
So with all of the other PCDs right here, that we've got permitted, it does feel like that it's one with PCD, especially if the PCD has 3,000 square feet, you want to go to 5,000.
So the reason that we didn't want to see, we're still open to seeking the PCD, but the PCD is more towards like 5 acre parcels and larger development, and this is only 1 acre of disturbance. So we didn't feel as though we needed to go for that higher use for the PCD, and that's why we were kind of gearing towards the neighborhood commercial. But if you guys do recommend the PCD, we'll definitely discuss that. So.
There is a small auto shop just down the street that's registered under NCD. I think it's in Oxford.
It's Oxford, it's delicious.
Yep.
Yeah, and especially with the neighborhood commercial, like maintaining that green space, he's completely open to that. So, and it's only an acre lot, so we're like, why would we go for a PCD? That just seems like overkill a little bit to me. So we looked at the code with Levi as well and thought neighborhood commercial was a better fit, but that's why we wanted to meet with you and figure out thoughts on that as well before we submit the actual application.
So kind of either way, you're gonna have a divergence. You're gonna
Yeah.
trigger the primary.
So
Yeah.
Jen brought up a good point, and I didn't think about this, the legalities of the NCD. There's a development plan that goes with the NCD, and this is my fault. But you would have to still get a conditional use for the use because it's not listed there. So the
Which would-
PCD would probably be.
Yeah, we talked about that, but it doesn't really call out a specific use. I think that's what we talked about. It was like 3,000 something.
There's a list of an article.
Because his isn't like under the PCD, I forget what the classification is. I'd have to go back and look, but he's not a shipyard. And that's what we wanted to like stay away from. He doesn't want that image. He's not gonna have like massive ships coming in and out of this place. Like it's gonna be like some pontoon boats maybe.
I was
So-
just thinking from the perspective, it's easier to ask for divergence from, like, when you bring in your development plan from BZC because you're already here having the hearing, instead of getting approval for NCD and then having a separate conditional
Use
use
hearing.
at BZA.
Yeah.
So you're recommending the
So
PCD?
these are two, well, ultimately, let me throw some more information on the plate. So, neighborhood commercial district, as far as, I mean, I've done a quick look at it, it appears to be what's called a standard district, which means it's like, no attitude here, no like pro or con value judgment, it's like a cookie cutter district, right? You either meet the provisions of the district, in which case you come in and you get approved for rezoning, or you don't. If you don't, the process for getting something other than what this district says is through the BZA, Board of Zoning Appeals.
Mhm.
Either you need a conditional use for a use that's identified as a conditional use, and or you need a variance for a provision that you don't need or you want something different. The pros and cons of a standard district are, it's like, it is what it says it is, it's a chocolate chip cookie, and you like chocolate chip cookies, and you pick that one, and you can eat the standards, most of them. The plan district, as you know, has that sort of like choose your own adventure flavor. Where you come in with a more robust presentation, because you have some degree, it doesn't have to be full Evans Farm mode, right? Like, you have some degree of a map and a text that goes with
Yeah,
it.
we've done plenty of PCD rezoning
Right, I'm just saying
applications.
that-
No, you're okay. Yeah.
Mostly, but everybody
Yeah,
just kind of already up to like, I
Yeah.
can't do that. So that's the approach. As with any time you're considering a standard district versus a planned district, it's like,
When we still have to ask for a divergence though for the acreage.
so in the planned, that's the process for that. You ask for a diversion. In the standard district, like, or the neighborhood, that's where you would have to go to BZA for the differences.
So it would just be one meeting PCD.
That's-
Shoved
I think
in
that's
one.
taking it back to what Levi was saying, is
Yeah,
all in one fell swoop, or kind of two different.
it might be a little bit more like
I'd rather go that route.
That's fine. I'm not surprised.
But it's obviously up to our client as well, so.
Yeah, and I was noticing, I mean, just based on what they want to do, it also in the NCD specifically calls out that like you're not allowed to have boats on the premises for more than 24 hours unless you go to BZA and request it. So because that is the business you want, you've got to go for multiple things to the BZA with the use, the parking restrictions.
Wasn't it unattended trailers? Wasn't that how it was listed out, or is it specific to boats?
It actually says no trailer, no boats, and they're like separate. So, yeah, I think just based on looking at the NCD, like, I mean, the one thing on the PCD is, yes, it is only 1.5 acre, but the PCD says 10 acres or per development plan. So if you develop and you say you are at 1.5 acre, then that's your development plan. So it's not a requirement that you be 10. And by saying 1.5, that's not really a divergence because that is your plan. So you're not really worried about that divergence. You may-
and some of the surrounding PCDs are smaller lots as well, maybe not quite this small, but they're definitely under the 10 acres.
Yeah, we're on board if that's the recommendation. That seems like the best path forward instead of recommending so many divergences on one. That seems
I wanted
like-
to point out that Kyle has been doing his due diligence and running all over the place.
I think he has like 10 copies of your code probably in his car.
Talking to ODOT, he's done that and been working with them. I don't think he's gonna be generating hardly any trips, but I think the concern is probably what happens to 37 in the near future, so.
And they have a full plan, ODOT does, of what's going through there, so. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but
They'll be changing the road in front of us twice within the next 10 years. So.
so they did not ask him to make any improvements of the roadway at this time, since they're going to be ripping it up essentially anyway, so.
Do you anticipate like fencing that in or anything?
We were talking about it. It would obviously be not like a wood fence, and not like a chain link fence. If it was a fence, it would be a metal post fence. That would be very big and straight line, especially being on 3637. So,
Maybe your security too, like
Yeah.
security reasons.
you know, for security, especially with, a lot of the cars that I work on are very high end. Obviously, the tools and everything are very expensive and boats. So,
Usually with our PCD packages we've submitted in the past, we do like landscaping design plans, which would be with the finals.
I mean, we would love for it to be appealing.
Yeah.
It's personally where I turn around.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know, from Acura, I.
Yeah.
Those animal travels, that's nice, these turn around.
Yeah.
No, we've done a lot of cleaning up out there, because it's been abandoned for 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and, we've cleaned up a lot of the rubbish and everything, and the debris that's flown off of 3637 from years has just been
And it looks like there are no existing trees, is it just kind of a
There's
flat?
This is all wooded, actually. I don't
Oh,
know the second
Oh,
one.
it's the shading.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought the shading meant this.
Yeah, so this one's actually easier to see.
Through here, there's probably 20 trees down through here, and then all through here along this back hillside, there's probably, I don't know, 50 to 60 trees. So,
I think these are just shadows, so
Yeah.
it really has to count.
yeah.
And of course, we'd like you to salvage what you can, but we also have to need to put a building in there.
Yeah, I've tried to salvage as many of the trees as possible, especially up through here.
Sure.
So, and this whole area actually is basically like very nice in nature, so it's not like gonna be disturbed with gravel or anything. We're trying to keep this grass and all the trees on the back hillside not disturb any of that. So,
Thank you for that. Well, okay.
All right, well, I think we'll go the PCD route. So, yeah, thanks for hearing us tonight. We will get that application in to you guys and get on the schedule. Thanks, Levi.
Yeah.
All right, next up, possible amendments to the zoning resolution. Tara said she has not been able, this is their busy season of landscaping, so we do not have any updates on her portion.
I have a small update.
Okay.
I sent it to, I just preliminarily sent it to Scott, at DCRPC. This morning, just to get his feedback and, let him know that we're starting the process soon, so.
Okay.
He hasn't mentioned my email yet,
You won't be surprised.
but, no,
You can be expected.
He's like, oh my gosh. Okay, well, so I guess we can't really get much dialogue about that. I think we're all in agreement, we need to short it up, keep it as simple as we can. I feel like our developers lately have upped their game on that. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think especially he has, because he was just in there, so. So
on
we
which,
were-
on what, I'm sorry.
On landscaping, just calling it out, being a little more. clear.
Honestly, I think the landscaping plan in this package probably isn't just road block from Pine Road that we've seen so far, yeah.
Hold that up as an example of what we're after, I guess, and try to integrate that into
Our expectation.
I mean, we don't want it to be onerous, we've seen that, where,
Just think like you said, Angela, it's nice to, when you're driving along a main thoroughfare to not,
Feel like it's that.
yeah.
yeah,
We like to, we
No
like
offense if
to, we
you're not
like to look out this
looking
phone
at
and see what the kids are gonna do across the street.
Yeah.
What are they doing today? I don't know.
But also, I guess, for me, even like, I look at that and I think if I were living there, I wouldn't want people.
I would think
to
that's
be able to-
creepy.
I would think that's really creepy, yeah,
Mhm.
to be able to drive by and literally be checking out what my backyard looks like, right? It's, you want people to have more privacy than that, so. Want them to feel like their kids are
Yeah.
more private too. Backyard,
I agree.
whoever it is in the backyard.
Especially on the main drag. These
Yes.
are busy roads.
Yes.
And a little more, like, I thought the plan today, a little more diversity than just, we're gonna put a pine tree every 5 feet,
Yeah.
or every 20 feet, or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
very
they actually have
nice-
multiple different types of trees, some shrubs, some other planting, so.
You got any business to report other than the Scott Savers?
Jerry and I have been working diligently on some violations. It's hard to get any track. I had a meeting with somebody who had a violation. They're actually getting a building permit to add onto their garage to pretty bad condition from the tornado. Their house has been a long time. They don't have a lot of finances, but they it'll be a while, but they're working toward it.
And the tornado cleanup's gonna be
It's,
a
yes,
long time.
it's still.
You would give me a violation, you could see.
Also, Jerry.
Okay, any other commission thoughts, conversations?
What do we have on the 24th?
We don't have anything.
Don't. So I hear you saying you're gonna be gone for that one?
I'm definitely going.
Okay. So then, depending on if we have, I mean, if we don't have anyone as of right now, we won't have the books in time.
Yeah, the only thing would be if we want to discuss these new resolutions.
Yes.
That would be it.
Can we do that by email and not have?
You can always send me emails about.
Well, I'm hoping to converse with Tara and see if she's got anything.
Yeah, I actually sent her, Jerry was going through a bunch of thumb drives and found something that was an approved list of trees from the trustees in like
Oh.
2008.
Oh, gosh.
And I sent it to Tara, I was like, here's an approved list of trees from the trustees. But as somebody that knows about a lot of trees from my Boy Scout days, I was like, this still doesn't seem like a very good list of trees.
I think she's kind of.
Oh, sure, yeah, I told her, I said, this is their list of trees, man, you'll probably find it.
2008.
There was no cherry trees on it, there was some other stuff that, so I did forward her that, because if they did pass it as a resolution or something, we have to take that into consideration somehow.
Okay, well, what do you guys think? Should we cancel our next meeting? And if we've got updates, let's communicate by email. Is that acceptable?
I think that's fine, especially.
Yeah, we're not gonna get anything on the books right now.
No, impossible.
Yeah, and that way too, if Tara, if her life doesn't calm down at all and she can't, we already don't have the meet, you know what I mean?
We don't set our pressure,
Yeah.
because it is her busy time.
You don't have to sell it to me.
Okay. Me either.
Yeah, and I'd rather plan for it,
Yes.
try to cancel
Yeah.
short notice a few
Yeah.
days beforehand.
Exactly.
So our next meeting, which would have been on June 24th, will not be held. And what do we have to do?
July
Do
8th.
we have,
Yeah,
wait, June 24th,
well, that one will get canceled, so the
Right,
next
okay.
one will be July.
July 8th. Do we have anything on the books for that?
We do not, we actually don't have anything on the books.
Wow, okay.
But
They won't-
Evan's Farm, I've been working with the lady at Edge Architecture, and they are actively working on the Ross property.
Okay,
Because we did say we wanted to get this resolution done. I think June was our target date, which we knew was aggressive. So at some point, we're
And,
gonna have to be.
I mean, it's they could be back in 2. They could.
Yeah.
Within a
Well, especially if he has had it that long,
Mhm.
that probably doesn't want to get anything on him.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, unless there's anything else, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. If anybody wants to make a motion.
second. Oh, I'll make a motion.
Do we just cancel the meeting or?
Yeah, I will have.
That's it, we don't need a motion, right? Just say, I'll just state for the minutes, it'll be for administrative people.
I'll put it on the website.
Okay. Alright, guys, thank you. Sign minutes, please, if you would, and, so, Jen, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Very valuable, very.
I apologize that I got.
No, no, no.
You don't need to apologize.
I've been to so many